the Gospels are not big books, they're very small books. And in such respect, it's what we have to tell the story of Jesus. So when it gives us a nugget of information, we have to take that very, very clearly. Can we have a seat, Blue Bus? Come on, have a sit down, please. It's very important. It's very important. Yeah, fine. Can you, quick Bible quiz, can you tell, and the Americans always get this right, so I'm only heaping up the pressure here, who took the body of Jesus from the cross? Thank you. Joseph of Arimathea. I'm sure it's pronounced in many different ways. Joseph. And we know one or two things about Joseph. First of all, that he was a rich man. And we have to make a connection between the place of the cross and a garden in which there was a private tomb. We also know at the other end of the story, before we can make all the connections, in that private tomb, there they laid Jesus. Wasn't there an Old Testament prophecy that he would be buried among the rich? Whenever the Gospels talk about wealth and riches, it's nearly always a slight or an insult. Rich and greedy, rich and proud. The only thing we hear about Joseph is that he's rich. How do you establish that you are rich in life? Well, remember, from Arimathea, he comes into Jerusalem and he establishes himself such that he has the credibility on the Day of Days, the long Good Friday, and I'll bet you by tea time Pilate was feeling pretty peaky. He didn't want to crucify Jesus. He gave the Jews every single chance to let Jesus go. He knew here was before him an innocent man who shouldn't suffer. And I reckon he'd done something he knew he shouldn't have done. And he permitted Jesus to be crucified. So when Joseph went to Pilate for the body of Jesus, he must have had credentials. Oh, and he took a ruler of the Jews with him, his buddy Nicodemus. And no doubt Pilate looked at these two and thought, maybe I can make a wee bit of amends here, so that he will have some dignity in death. Because the bodies of the crucified were nearly always dumped. We have a dumping ground outside. It's called the place of the skull. We have a valley round the corner. Do you know, after 2 or 3 days on the cross, there wasn't much left of a body. The birds of the air, the hounds of the night, they were pulling body parts off crosses, not whole bodies. But at least whatever state Jesus is in after the Romans finished with him, he had a decent interment in the grave of the rich, a private grave. The word garden is very significant, and there's evidence here that there may well have been a flourishing garden. Now, many plants in Israel does not need fall into pieces. Does not need very much sun. Very much water. It's called dry farming. But some plants flourish with lots of water. There's not much fluid in oil. Olive oil, olives, it's nearly all substance. But if you squash a grape, you're likely to get your hands wet. It's all water. Here is an abundant supply of water. And you people here in the first 2 rows are sitting on it. In 1982 there was an earthquake, and the cistern of water that's beneath your feet was emptied into the substructure, and we were able to excavate it. When this was full, it will hold 1 million litres of water. Do you know how much it costs to fill that up? Nothing. What a resource on the eastern Mediterranean seaboard. To have 1 million litres of water for a private garden, and we have to share it with nobody. That's what waters the plants and keeps this place beautiful. Wow. Joseph had such a resource. It may be that after the time of Jesus, this was enlarged. We know that there were crusaders here. You can see how smooth it is. This has been hammered and chiseled. But there was a natural reservoir of water, which makes this a prime piece of real estate. We can begin to suggest connections between that place And that place with the name of a rich man. And there's only one rich man named in the scriptures that is associated with the last few days of Jesus. Let's face it, all the others are gone. Why didn't Peter go for the body of Jesus? Or John? Or Mark? Or James? Or indeed any of his brothers? Why Nicodemus and Joseph? Well, there's a suggestion that only a family member could request the body of the executed. Only a family member. And there is a suggestion that Joseph was a relative of Jesus somewhere down the line. You're having your worship here. We're going to go to the tomb next. But there was a real find archaeologically just over that wall. And it's a beautiful wine press. We're told by the Jewish guides that it's the finest example of a wine press in Jerusalem. It's a wine press not for homemade stuff, for a family's consumption, but wine that can be made on some scale, which rather suggests a vineyard. And for a vineyard, you need well-drained land, and you need sufficient water to match the sunshine. If this was a place of Joseph, maybe it was known to Jesus. And how many times did Jesus use the word wine in his teaching? I am the true vine. Nobody puts new wine in old wineskins until you drink with me the new wine of the kingdom. What was the first miracle of Jesus? Wine. Not in Jerusalem. There's plenty of it. In Cana of Galilee, where there was little of it. We're going to go to the tomb, where I'm going to leave you, because it's going to be very, very congested down there. You clearly need to go in and begin your preparations for worship. I'll just say one or two things about this tomb, ever so quickly. You can see the entrance, and it faces that way, which makes it a Jewish tomb. It faces the temple. It's man-made. It's hewn out of the rock. It's not a cavern or a cave. There's no evidence of bats or bears. Flat roofs, flat floor, walls and right angles. And it's divided into two areas. The first chamber is where they lay the body out to prepare, to make the body decent for burial, and where they would hold their worship and their weeping and their lamenting. And then Jesus would have been laid in the tomb, in a place, until his bones would have been desiccated, and then the body would have been taken away after about a year. That's the usual thing. After about a year, there'd be nothing but bones and bandages. He didn't wait that long. 3 days, and they found him not there. A firm stone over the entrance to the tomb was already opened, and Jesus was gone. And they found those bandages. So when you go in there, just take a moment of silence to wonder. Just to wonder on that day. I was sweeping down there this morning between 6 and 7 o'clock, and I'll tell you, it puts a goose pimple on your back to sweep an area of ground where angels may have landed.
Yes.
I'll tell you, hallelujah for that.
Hallelujah.
I'll take you down these steps. Bless you and have a wonderful day, World Evangelism. Thank you for coming, and live long and live well. You may come back to us again.
God bless you.
If we go this way, take a peep down here, you'll be able to see the level of water. And hold on to your sunglasses. There's a wonderful collection of Ray-Bans down there.
Ray-Bans.
Oh, that's water. And that's all I knew of, not water.
this way.
Sister having a good time, I can tell. She's enjoying it.
Yeah, the slime with the mango.
Já entrou? Morning, how are you? We just got I've been to this before.
Change nationality. Just this. She's a Brazilian. You want to come?
Yeah, well, they did your page.